This is our humble abode, where we will create various monstrosities that should never be called rockets. Our end goal is to reach the moon, but first we must create a rocket using the most basic engine and pod. We just throw on a parachute and a bunch of mysterious goo. We then send Jebediah Kerman into space without his consent. Throughout our mission we are going to remind Jebediah to stare into the various science experiments and write back a letter of what he saw. As long as Jebediah does not die a terrible death on the mission, our data will be used to unlock more items to make even more dangerous rockets and more science for Jebediah to look at. And now with more pieces for this unlawful scrap pile that is the Welch's fruit snacks, we are sending Jebediah into previously unknown parts of the atmosphere. After Jebediah has completed his science, he comes in for a warm landing and almost forgets to pull the parachute. He cut 2 of the parachutes because he has a need for speed and cannot wait to reach the ground. After gathering some of the sweet science, we are now able to take a look at contracts. Now if we can throw Jebediah so high there is no longer any air, we will get paid, and then we become more famous amongst the big rich space companies. After making the most massive rocket and calling it the Crayola hand warmer snacks, we launch it and fly a measly 100 kilometers into the sky and gather the most science we ever have. Jebediah almost pulled a Columbia but managed to survive re-entry and got our scrumptious science home. The arsenal of rocket parts was greatly expanded after the mission, and the money gained was used to upgrade the launch pad to allow even larger rockets. Construction of a much larger rocket began, using a large new booster that was unlocked. Other new parts were added to earn even more science. In a failed attempt by Jebediah Kerman to launch straight to the moon, he burned up in the atmosphere on launch. But Jebediah never gives up. After making a newer, larger rocket, the torture began of attempting to get to orbit. Eventually Jebediah made it to orbit. Using the last of his fuel he extended the orbit to earn more science, before remembering he forgot to take the contract to make it to orbit. He burned up on re-entry but thankfully he made a quick save so he was able to attempt re-entry again. Jebediah burned on re-entry again, but on his 3rd attempt he used his insane skills to hold retrograde perfectly for 2 straight minutes, without the stability assistance system. After he landed, the tech tree was expanded even further. Using the new parts the old rocket was upgraded. Many more attempts were made to get into orbit again. It turns out part of the staging was messed up, causing the rocket to break. Eventually Jebediah reached orbit and extended the apoapsis to align with that of the moon's. I fast forwarded too much and ended up missing the moon encounter. I felt as though I did not want to exist anymore, but after a lot of screaming I finally gained the mental strength to go through the torture of getting to the moon again. And then finally, after so many attempts to get here, we have reached the moon. Jebediah did his research while high above the moon, and began the return back to Kerbin, but he forgot to quick save and burned up in the atmosphere. I decided I was going to say close enough. Haha, get fooled. Jebediah never gives up. A new rocket was made and after many attempts to get to the moon, he did it. After surviving re-entry and landing, the challenge was complete. This is a different type of content, so please, and only if you genuinely liked it, give me a thumbs up or feedback. If you hated it then just dislike it or again, provide me some feedback. Any feedback would be really great, thank you.